Scrolling on Twitter as you do, I come across this post from an Arsenal fan. KROENKE Out Protest tomorrow, referring to, Sunday before we play Manchester United, starting at 12. This really did, spark my attention because recently a lot of Arsenal fans have been growing frustrated with Arsenal not making any signings, no links, whatever. It seems to been very, very quiet on that end of things for Arsenal, whilst other teams, City, Liverpool going for Kvaratskhelia, Tottenham making moves, signing a nice little goalkeeper the other day, and nothing for Arsenal. So obviously, it seems as though it may not seem as many people are doing it, but there has been a section of Arsenal fans that have reacted and are actually willing to put out a KROENKE Out protest. And I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen because in my head, I don't believe Arsenal fans would actually genuinely do this. But it got me thinking, how many of you Arsenal fans watching this video, let me know down below, are actually KROENKE out? The last 3 seasons for me, the Kroenkes have been really, really good. I'm not going to lie to you. And they continue to be doing good things for me. I don't feel like we're in a situation where we need to get rid of the Kroenkes. For me, they're in the right frame of mind. They've only had full ownership for around 4 or 5 years now. A lot of the Arsenal fans seem to think they've been in charge for a very long time, but they had this shared sort of ownership beforehand. Before now, they've got, full sort of control over the club. So it's only fair to judge the Kroenkes over the last 4 years. And if you look at the signings we've made, they've managed to give us 65 for Havertz. I know a lot of people don't rate Havertz, but they were involved in that. 50 for Gabriel Jesus, 40 for Zinchenko, 40 for Erdegaard, 25 for Ramsdale. All of these signings, they were involved in making them happen. So it's not that they have been afraid to splash the cash. It's just, I think now we're at this stage in the window where we know we can be so close to Liverpool, who seem to be cracking a little bit under the pressure. And there seems to be no sort of ambition at this stage to go and sign an attacking player to help us. Because that front line, we certainly need attacking help. And it was made very, very interesting when Mikel Arteta said this in a press conference on Friday about signings. He said, we have certain limitations and we have a lot of gaps and a lot of things to cover to become the team we want. And then the availability of those players. Can you afford them? Even if you want to, it's sometimes not been possible. We know Arteta can be quite a cryptic man. Is this him being cryptic again? Taking a little snipe at the Kroenkes, being like, okay, I need a little bit of help here. We're struggling. We haven't got the numbers. I'm having to bring academy players into training sessions, which I'll talk about later as well, with a certain 15-year-old maybe going to be involved tomorrow against United. But it does seem Arteta is sort of trying to nudge at the owners and be like, okay, guys, we need help. We need players to come in and help us in those attacking situations and areas because we're running out of gas and ideas. We're not clinical in front of goal. And there's players available. It's not like this market has been slow at any stretch of the imagination. And there's players I'm going to talk about in this video as well, who I think we can go for. We certainly can. It's just about, is it the owners we have to start blaming for not making movement? Or is it Arsenal being too risk averse, not taking the punt in January that could potentially help you get the Premier League, get the Champions League, which we desperately need this season? Again, interested to see what Mikel Arteta says in what he looks for in a signing. First of all, someone that brings impact. Bringing bodies doesn't help at all. They have to impact instantly in this market. That can be very, very difficult to achieve. Like I said before, is it very, very difficult to achieve? I don't actually think so. There's a lot of attacking players on the market. Desiree Doué, Barola, especially if Kvaratskhelia goes to PSG. We're seeing Omar Marmoush, 50 million to Manchester City. We're seeing Kolo Muani, a player who can impact games, player who was really good in a World Cup final. There are players out there for us that are going to make an impact. Impacts that we saw from the Trossards we signed in January, from the Jorginhos we signed in January. There are players on this market. So is it us again being risk averse, like I've said? Because, there's enough options in there where Arteta shouldn't be worried about players not coming, to just have an extra body, but to have an impact. We've seen Sterling probably has been a massive, massive hindrance on Arteta and the Arsenal team being sort of a risk takers because he hasn't really hit the ground running. Hopefully United, he'll start the game and we'll see what he's made of because he is now fit. He needs to start performing. We certainly need his help, definitely. Again, like I said, Kvaratskhelia looks set to join PSG. And I want to take this opportunity again to talk about Mr. Brady Barola, who I'm a massive, massive fan. A lot of Arsenal fans, it seems as though we are the ones making the rumours for ourselves, This is my Instagram. If you don't follow it, go drop a follow on there. I put a post out. Arsenal are monitoring Brady Barola, seeing the developments with Fabrizio Romano. Arteta is a fan of him, made a video on YouTube the other day as well about that. So look, if he can be persuaded, we know Arteta is a fantastic talker, £50 million, depth on both sides of the wings. He can start when Saka is back. It's a no-brainer for me, an absolute no-brainer. The angles that he can sort of provide in the attacking phases, he would be absolutely perfect. And again, it goes down to being risk takers and not risk averse. Take the risk on a guy like him. He's only 22 years old. Quality is there for all of us to see. And for me, I was even looking at his stats here. Look at this. This is just this season, by the way. League R, 16 games, 10 goals, 2 assists. Really, really good stats in there. Nations League, he's been contributing in the national team as well. And look at those stats per 90 in League R. You know, he's got there 0.85 goals per 90, which is the 99th percentile, which means he's in the top 1% of wingers when it comes to scoring goals in League R, or attackers actually. He's also got 1.02 goals and assists combined per 90. Again, top 1% of players, attackers in League R. He also has 0.8 XG per 90 minutes. He can generate chances on his own. Again, in the top 1% of attackers in League R. Look at that, 0.17 assists per 90. Again, in the top 18% of attackers in League R. So there's brilliant numbers, attacking, creative numbers. He can do it all. You're seeing the goals and assists he's contributing. He's a fantastic player for me. And here again, if we look at his dribbling, many Arsenal fans, we just want a player who can come in and be a pure dribbler and impact the game in a dribbling sense. Here he is. He's done 75 dribbles, 6 dribbles per 90 minutes, the top 1% of any player in League R. He's got 26 successful dribbles, top 4% of any player in League R. It is really good. He's only been dispossessed 9 times, which again is in the middle, showing that he's with the same level of other wingers. He's still consistent in that category. It is fantastic stats, to be honest. It really is. And I know a lot of the talk is about Fabrizio, but Barola is the guy for me, really. He's a quality player, and we've got to be risk takers. The KROENKE need to take risks, because these players, they don't just come around. They are so good. Anyway, let's get on to a bit of positive sort of news in regards to Mr. Max Dman, 15 years old, and he was in first team training today. If you're listening on Saturday, that means today. If on Sunday morning, the early hours, yeah, yesterday then. But still, it is fantastic to see Max Dman in the side. Fantastic player. He's got all the ability. He's ready to just burst onto the scene, really. At just 15, to be in the first team. I know we have injuries, but his quality is there for all of us to see. He really is a talent. We've seen Miles do great stuff. Neri doing great stuff. It's just a shame he got injured. But again, there's so many positives for us, you know, when we've got the youth. We're looking at the next crop of youngsters. It's looking really good. But in terms of the KROENKEs, Arteta, we need to be positive in this window. This is the biggest chance we'll ever get. Again, we didn't do it last year to a good enough effect. Let's not let it catch up to us this year. Go get us a superstar attacker. There's players there. Barola, Fabrizio, Due. Take your pick, Mikel and KROENKE.